Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Sustainable Scoop. Of all the things that we need as human beings, one we cannot do without is water. Here to discuss a revolutionizing water treatment program is Dr. Lockett Wood, and he is the founder and CEO of Avivid Water Technologies. Welcome, Lockett.
Thank you, Mary.
Now, I hate to go straight to the headlines, but you can't get away from what's happening in Michigan right now with their polluted water and the fact that people cannot drink from their taps. How could a process like what you've created help them?
Well, the problem, of course, is that their lead pipes in their feeder systems are what are causing the problem. So consequently, we would need to have a distribution system. For example, we could go to schools or places where people gather and provide them with clean water there as opposed to having used bottled water. You realize, of course, that lead pipes are a problem all over the U.S. and the East.
Well, the problem with polluted water is a huge, enormous problem, whether it's an environmental issue that is a consequence of someone's failure to, protect their communities, or like you said, old pipes. So you recently did an interview in Colorado on Now Channel 7, and I want to take a minute and look at that interview because it's pretty telling.
Okay.
Let's watch.
Lockett Wood, CEO of Avivid Water Technology in Longmont, says after nearly a decade of development, he's discovered a safe way to purify water using a process known as electrocoagulation.
Much water purification is done with toxic chemicals like chlorine and ferric chloride, but this is a electrochemical technology.
He starts by pouring dirty water into this reactor.
We place pure metal ions in the water. Those are highly reactive. They then combine with all the contaminants of the water. So we wind up with a clean water on the top and a very dirty sludge on the bottom.
The reaction takes just a few minutes, and then watch as the water separates from the sludge.
This is an extremely effective way for removing arsenic, heavy metals, biologics, petrochemicals, pharmaceuticals.
Lockett says it's so effective, it's now good enough to drink.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, literally amazing. I wish I had a glass to drink right now.
Well, if you'll come to Colorado, we'll give you a glass of that water.
Well, I don't necessarily have to because you've got these machines built. We're talking real machinery. This is not a concept. This is a process that you can do on a larger scale. So tell me about the larger process and how it works.
The larger process, in fact, larger or smaller process, what we do is we put pure metal ions directly into the water. This is a replacement for toxic chemical treatment. And those ions interact with every pollutant in the water, creates a very strong precipitate that'll either settle out of this water or we can filter it out. And as a result, we wind up with extremely clean water, no bugs, no heavy metals, no arsenic, no lead, no zinc, no copper, no mercury.
Remarkable. You even mentioned when we spoke before that some of the heavy metals could be salvaged in post-laundering of the water.
That's absolutely correct. In fact, I've found that there are 4 mines around the world where each year you could pull more than $20 million worth of metals directly out of the water, so we could mine water.
So not only can you drastically improve situations like what's happening in Michigan, but generally speaking, water supplies where someone has either dumped something inadvertently, or human beings, or maybe wildlife, or the system of agriculture is polluting the water. How much water can you process?
Well, you can process as much water as you have, but typically...
What's the rate?
The rates are from the little unit that you saw there, there's 1 gallon a minute, and we can readily go to 1,000 gallons a minute.
Wow.
So and those cover most of the industrial wastewaters. The EPA has identified 62 different industrial wastewaters that really need to be treated, and this process is ideal for nearly every one of those wastewaters.
Well, it seemed to me that because we're creating these sustainable communities, and part of that is density, that it makes sense in a community like DC, Maryland, and Virginia to have their own system on the ready. Is that something you're looking into?
This is particularly valuable for emergency water purification. For example, we can build you saw the solar powered unit. We can build that in a 4x4 by 4 foot pallet that you can store. Shelf life is probably 20 years or longer for that. So you can keep that in reserve. You have an emergency like Katrina, and now you've got fresh water on site for the people that need it. This provides enough water certainly for drinking purposes and food preparation.
So you set up a laundry system, basically.
Basically, that's correct. You set up a multiple of these around the community.
So now, what is really important for you at this point? You've got the hardware, you're sharing the information with different communities, but what do you need to do now to kind of scale up?
Well, in order to scale up, this kind of technology is relatively capital intensive. So we've got to do two things. We've got to generate capital to build these systems, and then of course we have to find customers to buy the systems. Those are our major objectives at the moment. The technology is solid. We have no concerns about the technology. We do have concerns about getting this in the field.
And there's no question that an investor would know, and with some confidence, you have patents on this technology, do you not?
That's correct. We got our first patent in 2013. We just received our second patent last fall, 2015. So our patents are quite solid and relatively new.
So you are eager to meet people who are interested in learning more about the process, and you're happy to go and speak, I would imagine.
I will speak any place, anytime someone will invite me.
Wonderful.
In fact, I'm giving a paper at the WET conference in Indianapolis the last week in February.
All right, well, wonderful. You're in the right town right now. DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Pay attention. I want everyone to go to the Avivid website and learn a little bit more about this fantastic technology, and then certainly follow up with Lockett Wood about how you can either support or request a similar system in your community. I'm Miriam Gennari. That's the Sustainable Scoop. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lockett.